I want to challenge something that's rarely said out loud in customer success circles. Most customer success managers will never become customer business partners. Not because they're not good at their jobs, many of them are excellent, but because the experiences that actually build that capability, the ones that shift how you think about your customers and not just how you manage them, are rarely given to people by accident. The customer success leaders I've worked with, and I have been personally through my 20 years of experience, are people who genuinely operate as customer business partners. They don't get there just by doing their job well for long enough. They got there because of specific experiences that changed how they see the world. And today I'm going to tell you what those experiences are. I've lived through many of them personally, and it's shaped how I've led, the decisions I've made, and how I coach CS teams today to become more intentional in the way that they deliver customer led growth. I'll show you what it means for you, whether you're building a customer success team or you're already inside of one. Now, let's start by looking at the typical career path for customer success managers. Whilst many customer success managers come from different walks of life, we can actually categorize the roles into three seniority levels. The first is the junior customer success manager. Now, a junior customer success manager learns about the product, typically manages a high volume book of business with small accounts, handles reactive escalations, and is starting to learn how to build their process muscle. By the time they get to the mid level, those mid level customer success managers take on larger accounts. They'll run quarterly business reviews, manage stakeholder relationships, and get better at the operational cadence. A senior customer success manager will own the more strategic accounts. They're involved in renewals and expansion and mentor junior team members. And then, for many, it's a plateau. And now, why does this plateau happen? Typically, the skills that get you to a senior customer success manager role are predominantly operational and relational. It's all about keeping the customers happy, managing the process, and solving problems reactively. And those skills are very valuable, but they do not on their own build commercial acumen. They do not build the ability to read a strategic shift in the customer's business and connect it to a renewal risk. And they do not build the confidence to challenge a customer's thinking in a C suite conversation. Most customer success role, and even the senior ones, do not require you to develop these capabilities. And as a result, most customer success managers do not develop them. Now, the difference between a senior customer success manager and a true customer business partner is not experience counted in years. It's experience counted in type, and specifically exposure to commercial decisions, executive conversations, cross functional complexity, and genuine customer strategy, not just customer management. If you, as a founder, hire a senior customer success manager and expect a customer business partner, you'll be disappointed, and they will feel set up to fail. That capability gap is real. It's also bridgeable, but only if you understand what you're trying to build. I now work with and advise founders and customer success leaders on how to build these muscles and transform their organization into customer success business partners who can truly drive outstanding customer led growth outcomes. Is that the people who become genuine customer business partners had, almost without exception, been through a version of the five experiences that I'm going to talk you through today. They may not have gone through all of them at once, but eventually they would have collected hard evidence around each of these points. And that's what built that customer business partner capability. The first one is actually owning a commercial conversation where they had skin in the game. So this is not about observing a renewal negotiation. It's actually being in it and owning at the very least part of, but ideally all of that outcome. So a customer business partner knows what it feels like to be in a conversation where the number on the table is real and the outcome is uncertain. That is the experience that rewires how you listen to customers. It's how you create a different type of attention. You stop hearing what the customers say and start hearing what they mean. You're reading between the lines. And in most customer success roles, customer success managers are adjacent to the commercial conversations. They'll do the relationship work, and either sales or leadership will actually drive the deal. And the ones who develop fastest are the ones who are pulled into the room and given real responsibility to drive a commercial outcome. What's the first experience that you need your customer success managers to have in order to become customer business partners? The first is a commercial conversation where they actually have skin in the game. So, this is not about just observing a renewal negotiation, it's about being in it and owning at least part of the outcome, ideally, all of it. The customer business partner knows what it feels like to be in a conversation where the number on the table is real and the outcome is uncertain. That experience rewires how you listen to customers. It creates a different kind of attention. You stop hearing what customers say and start hearing what they mean. You read between the lines. In most customer success roles, customer success managers are adjacent to commercial conversations. They do the relationship work, and then sales or the leadership team does the deal. Are the ones who are pulled into the room and given a real responsibility. And what that looks like in practice is co owning a renewal, being the primary voice in an expansion conversation, presenting a business case to the customer's CFO. I can tell you that I had a personal experience like this when I inherited an account 3 months before it was due to renew. The relationship was in dire straits. It had been underserved, neglected, and the buyer, who was a CFO, was very close to pressing red and cancel. I would have put that account very much in the amber to red category. And it was on me to turn that around, even though I hadn't been personally responsible for the relationship. I had to learn to think on the dime. I had to start to help the CFO project themselves into a future vision of service and move away from a review of what had not been the right level of support and impact to justify based on the last 12 months of relationship. I'm pleased to say that with support of my colleagues, I was able to turn that relationship round and they continued to renew for years to come. But that type of experience is what really helps you to build that muscle. So as a founder, if you want customer business partners, create commercial exposure deliberately. And that's not just about allowing customer success managers to attend the conversation. Give them accountability for the outcomes. The next is looking at exposure to an account that's genuinely at risk, that they save or lose. And think about this as a near miss or a full loss, because both build this kind of customer success partner. The second part of building customer business partner muscle is exposing customer success managers to accounts or customers that are genuinely at risk and that they save or lose. Near miss or full loss, because both build this muscle. Managing straightforward or healthy account teaches the process, but managing an account that's in a crisis teaches judgment. The customer success leaders who genuinely get exceptional at anticipating risk are those who've almost always been burnt before, who've watched the relationship deteriorate and not seen it coming, or who've had to fight hard to pull something back from the edge. The experience builds a certain sensitivity that cannot be taught in a training session. It changes what you look for and what questions you ask, how you read the early warning signals. My personal experience here has been one that's really marked the way that I've driven everything since, that highlighted that a healthy account does not guarantee a renewal. I had a large pharma client who, unbeknownst to me, had been missing its quarterly earnings forecast. It's not something that my champion volunteered as information. They were happy and the relationship was going well on the surface. Until that I asked them for a renewal and an expansion that I had assumed would be forthcoming. Not only did they not sign up for the extended additional services that we'd been discussing, they also cancelled 3 out of the 4 modules in the product that we had been serving. That was not because we had done a bad job in managing the relationship and aligning the value of the product to their strategic initiatives. It was because I had failed to read the quarterly earnings forecast, to understand how the customer's health would impact their budget decisions and therefore the commitment that they would make to our partnership. That kind of relationship and that kind of fail ultimately is what drives an ability to think outside the box, not just to look at the direct relationship that you've created with a customer, but understand the bigger picture, their financial health, and the shifts in strategy that can actually expand your relationship as an opportunity or create fundamental risks that you may not have been looking out for. Customer success leaders that I've worked with who've built genuine retention track records, when you look back at their career, almost all of them have had a major near loss early on in their career that became formative. It's not the win that shaped them, it was the near miss or the big loss that they had to scramble to make up for. So don't insulate your best people from the difficult accounts. Give them support, but also give them the experience. A customer success manager who's only managed easy renewals has not developed the capability you need to scale. That grit comes from the hard knock lessons. The third experience is actually giving them cross functional work that can give them a full view of the whole business. This is not about liaison or coordination. It's real collaboration with product, sales, finance, or leadership on something that really matters to your business. The orchestrator profile is built through experiences where customer success managers had to align people across functions who had different priorities and who were not naturally inclined to cooperate. The strategic thinker profile is built through experiences where a customer success manager had to understand the customer's business at a level that required reading financial results, following industry trends, connecting dots across the organization, and not just managing their direct stakeholder. Multi-threading has a big role to play in the customer relationship, not just in sales. Being able to do that as a customer success manager is one of the key features that you need to master in order to become a customer business partner. And in companies where customer success is siloed, if they're a separate team with separate metrics, separate goals, then these experiences don't happen. And the companies where customer success is embedded in the growth model, they do. So, customer success leaders that I've worked with who have a seat at the leadership table are the ones who develop the fastest. And they were the ones who were brought into the product roadmap conversations as the customer voice. They developed a strategic and cross functional lens that their peers who stayed narrowly focused on the customer relationship alone never built. So, give your CS team access to product conversations, to pricing conversations, to leadership strategy conversations. That learning does not happen in isolation. The fourth experience is exposing your customer success manager to customers who treat them as a trusted advisor, not just a vendor contact or a service provider. This one here is really about the nature of the relationship that you have, not the transaction. There's a difference between being managed as a supplier and being invited into a customer's strategic planning process. The second experience, when it happens, fundamentally shifts how a customer success manager understands their role. When a customer says, I want you in the room when we're making a decision, it's not flattery. It's a signal. It means that customer success manager has built something real. The trust, the credibility, the understanding of the customer's business that makes their input genuinely valuable. Customer success leaders who have this experience once tend to pursue it deliberately with every single customer after that. It becomes the standard that they hold themselves accountable to. So, not are my metrics green, but does my customer think of me as an extension of their team? I personally remember being invited every single year by a group head of HR to review his global HR strategy. Not just because we had a great product, but because I had a full 360 understanding of what his organization was looking to build. I had been partnering with key people within his team and had a different perspective that he valued when he was making decisions for the year ahead. That for me is the blueprint of what an extension of the team and a trusted advisor looks like. And that's what I've built for the teams that I've worked with ever since. This ability to stand in front of a senior stakeholder and add personal value as well as enhancing the status of the product and solution as a key enabler of those strategic goals. Another example is translating your understanding of a specific customer type and understanding the ecosystem and reality in which they operate. So, some of the customer success leaders I've seen do this really well are people who work with regulated industries. They will have invested in understanding how that regulatory environment impacts their customers and the way that they make decisions. And that's not just because it was part of their job, but because they understood that commercial trust is built through demonstrated understanding of the customer's world. So you need to create the conditions for this, and that requires access to the right customers, the right stakeholders, and the right conversations. And this requires time because trust is not built in a 30-day onboarding cycle. The fifth is failure with a consequence. So this is not about a minor miss, but a moment where something goes so wrong and they had to be accountable for solving it. This is the experience that most organizations try to protect people from, and one that, when managed well, accelerates development faster than almost anything else. It builds a thing that separates great customer success leaders from good ones. It builds the capacity to be honest about what went wrong, learn from it, and show up differently next time without being defensive and without shifting the blame on an individual. In tech organizations specifically, when the culture can trend towards moving fast and not dwelling on what broke, customer success managers who are given the space to debrief properly, to understand the systemic causes, are the ones who develop the fastest. So here it's about building a culture where failure is understood, debriefed, and learned from, not buried. Learning from a churned account is some of the most valuable information that your business has, so do not waste it. Now, an individual cannot build these capabilities on their own. There has to be a system in the organization that enables that. So I want to be clear about something. The 5 experiences I've just described are not things that a customer success manager can manufacture for themselves. They require an organization to create the conditions, and most customer success organizations are not set up to do that. What high net revenue retention companies do differently and consistently is as follows. They define a career path that is about capability development and not just tenure. So progression is not about time served, but it's about the type and the quality of experience that their customer success managers get. They give their best people access to conversations that build the commercial acumen, and not after they've proved themselves, but as part of how they prove themselves. They create internal infrastructure, whether it's automation, junior support, processes, and tools, so that their strongest customer success talent is not buried in operational task. The troubleshooter and operator functions should be increasingly systematized, freeing the strategic thinker and orchestrator capacity for the work that truly builds value. They invest in coaching and development, not generic training, but targeted development tied to specific capability gaps. The customer success manager who has strong relationship skills but lacks the commercial acumen needs a different development investment to the one who understands the numbers but struggles to orchestrate complexity. Does your current customer success structure enable them to develop? Or does it trap your best people in reactive and operational work that builds no new capability and eventually pushes them out the door? So I have to ask you this one hard question. If you want customer success business partners, does your current customer success structure enable them to develop, or does it trap your best people in reactive and operational work that builds no new capability and eventually pushes them out the door? So, what does this all mean if you're trying to build out a world-class customer success capability for your business? As a founder, I want to be honest with you, you cannot shortcut this. You can't hire a customer business partner who has not had these experiences, but you can build an environment where the right people develop faster and specifically audit the accounts that your best customer success managers work on. Are these accounts giving them the formative experiences, commercial conversations, complex stakeholder environments, genuine strategic work, or are they healthy, quiet, and capability building nothing? Because you need to create commercial exposure deliberately. Bring in your senior customer success people into renewal and expansion conversation as owners, not just observers. And you need to build that operational layer, the tools, the automation, the junior resource, so that your top talent is not trapped doing troubleshooter and operator work indefinitely. Finally, debrief the losses, because every churned account contains data and information and lessons for a better decision next time, not just for them, but for you. So use it. If you're a CS practitioner, then the career arc I described does not just happen to you. You need to build it by seeking the experiences that stretch you, understanding which of the five you have not had yet, and creating conditions for yourself wherever possible. So ask to be in the room for the commercial conversations, even if it's just as an observer at first. Volunteer for the difficult accounts, not just the easy ones. Build your understanding of the customer's business beyond your product, their financials, their strategic priorities, and their industry context. Find the environments that will give you these experiences. If your current organization cannot provide them, that's important information. The customer success professionals who genuinely operate as customer business partners, the ones who drive 120% net revenue retention and above, who hold the relationships that don't churn and get invited back into the rooms that most vendors never enter, they are not a different kind of person, but they have had a different set of experiences. They've had commercial exposure to genuine risk. They've lived through cross-functional complexity, learned to build real trust over time with customers, and they have the kind of accountable failure that changes how you show up. These experiences can be built and they can be sought. They can be designed into how you build a team or deliberately pursued if you are the one doing the growing. The question is not whether you have the right people. The question is whether you've built an environment where the right experiences are possible. Because talent without exposure is just potential. And potential does not retain accounts. Next week, I'm going deeper into the model that sits behind all this, the 4 modes of customer success, and which parts of each role AI is replacing or augmenting, if the system is designed in the right way. If you want to understand what this means for your team right now, this video is going to be important. And if you're a founder, sitting with the question of whether your customer success structure is set up to build this kind of capability, drop a comment or follow the link in the description. I'm running a diagnostic specifically for that conversation, and it comes out next Monday. Subscribe if you want to see next week's video the moment it drops. It comes out next Monday.